welcome. My name is Adam Walter. I am the marketing director here at Cheesemans Ecology Safaris, and I want to welcome everybody to our special live webinar, Inside Sri Lanka, Wildlife, Conservation, and Biodiversity Highlights. We have a pretty exciting journey lined up, obviously virtually, in one of the most biodiverse islands on Earth. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or you're exploring your very first wildlife safari, this is your chance to get inspired for an unforgettable adventure. Now, Sri Lanka is often called the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, but it's beyond its beautiful beaches. It's a treasure trove of wildlife, ancient culture, and remarkable conservation success stories. During our time together tonight, you're going to discover why Sri Lanka 2026 is so special, featuring intimate encounters with leopards, elephants, sloth bears, and blue whales, and dozens of endemic bird species, and a thoughtfully designed itinerary rooted in ethical travel and community support. I'm thrilled to be joined tonight by an exceptional team. Amit, he's our partner with the local operator in Sri Lanka. He ensures every detail of our trips runs smoothly. Asitha, he's a local leader, expert naturalist whose deep knowledge in Sri Lanka's wildlife and culture is what helps enrich your experiences while out in the field. And Krista Haney, she's Cheesemans Wildlife Safari Coordinator for this trip. She's also our co-CEO and co-owner here at Cheesemans, and she's here to answer any specific questions regarding the nuts and bolts of this trip. And of course, myself. Tonight, we're going to cover wildlife highlights from Sri Lanka leopards to the majestic blue whale, the best parks, rainforests, and coastal habitats for viewing nature in its prime, why Sri Lanka is the ideal time to visit in February, how your travels directly support conservation and local communities, and at the end, we're going to wrap up with a live Q&A session where you can ask us anything about Sri Lanka or this trip in particular. So let's get started. One thing we do ask, by the way, is if you have a question, you just can't wait for the Q&A, drop it in the chat at the bottom, and we'll get to it at the end. And so without further ado, Amit, I'm going to turn everything over to you so you can start our journey.
Thank you so much, Adam. Hello to everybody, and we thought we would introduce you to Sri Lanka. I'm going to share my screen here. Yeah, so again, welcome everybody. As Adam mentioned, my name is Amit, and I'm the local partner in Sri Lanka. This Sri Lanka is like a teardrop. That's what we talk about because that's what it looks like. It's surrounded by it's this beautiful island with so much biodiversity that it's incredible, and it's not. And to the North American market, I still feel Sri Lanka is still very undiscovered from this part of the world. Sri Lanka sees a lot of tourism from Europe, of course, Asia, and all these countries, but it's still a far-off destination for North Americans traveling to as far as Sri Lanka. But it is, and I'm going to tell you why you should be signed up on this trip in the next year or the year after to come and discover this rich biodiversity, a vibrant culture, and ancient heritage that we have in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka, as I mentioned, is south of India. It's one of the most diverse biodiversity spots in the world. It has many endemics which are in the country. If you're into wildlife, then and definitely you will be taking off many species, not just of the bigger mammals, but also the endemic species of birds which are in the country. 29 of the 32 endemic species of the birds are found in one place in Sri Lanka alone. So you can imagine how diverse the place is. It goes through many different landscapes. It goes through many different variety of wildlife, from the leopards being the prime predator in the country, elephants almost throughout the country, sloth bears, crocodiles, and the 26 national parks that the country has. What we will do is we will walk you through the itinerary slowly and see the national parks that we'll be visiting, and also the diverse cultural highlights that are going to be a part of the trip as well. Despite being the size of Ireland, Sri Lanka has so much to offer. Within a few hours of drive, we go to each and every part of the country, almost covering from east to west, north to south, and still being able to, not do very, very long drives. That was one of the essential things about when we were planning the trip, that we didn't want to drive 7 hours, 6 hours to get to different places. So hence the longest drive that you will do on this trip is 4.5 hours or so. As we talked about, Sri Lankan leopard is one of the highlights of the trip. The Asian elephant, which is common in Miniera, Galoya, and Udawala Bay. These are the parks that we'll be going to. The sloth bear, it's one of the best places in the world to see blue whales. People don't think of Sri Lanka when they come to see blue whales, but One of the best places in the world to see blue whales is definitely in Marissa, which is the south of Sri Lanka. Of course, also the sperm whales are spotted and countless dolphins when you're doing the whale watching out of Marissa on our trip. The iconic species of Sri Lanka. I'm not going to run through every bird species there, but as we talked about, when you're traveling through the country, we everywhere that you go, in different parts of the country, it's not just the culture. We'll be able to walk and go into the villages, interact with the people while we are there, and still mix it with the biodiversity of Sri Lanka, like we talked about, how it has multiple seasons, multiple landscapes while we are there. Unique habitats of Horton Plains, which is the dry scrub jungle of Yala, and the mangroves of Galoya. They are all topographically beautiful. So if you see the image that you see on the right, when you're driving across some of the plains, this is the rolling hills that you'll see. If you remember, Sri Lanka is famous also for tea. The Ceylon tea, the name that it originates from, Ceylon, what Sri Lanka was known as before. You will see rolling hills when we are passing through many of these diverse habitats. And within them, we'll see wild elephants and excellent birding in these areas. So whenever you're not even inside a national park, you will be able to actually still be able to see amazing scenery. And within these tea plantations, there are villages that are immersed in them. So we'll be able to stop in them, take a tea break, interact with the local people while there. If you know a little bit of Sri Lanka history, Sri Lanka has gone through its tough times. Back in the days of the war, Sri Lanka was isolated, and not a lot of people visited Sri Lanka. That has changed completely in the last 20 years. Sri Lanka is now booming with tourism. People ask always the question of, is it safe now to go to Sri Lanka? It has been for the last 15 to 20 years. Sri Lanka is developed its infrastructure superbly well. So the roads are well paved. The hotels that are there are beautiful, amazing design. In fact, I would say in the Asian region, Sri Lanka has some of the best hotels in those particular areas, and we'll see a few of them. Well, we will, because we will be staying in a few. We talked about the marine life, the cultural snapshots. There's temples, ancient temples that are present in Sri Lanka. Stilt fishermen, when we go towards Marissa, we'll be able to see them fishing. Traditional dance forms, festivals are happening almost every month in Sri Lanka. So to have that vibe of festivals, cultural dances, it reflects that legacy of what Sri Lanka has. So mixing culture, wildlife, architecture, history, within all that, some of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites in cities like Anuradhapura, Polnarua, and Sigiriya are quite famous around the world, and they date back almost 2,000 years. So we will be visiting some of these archaeological marvels which are there, and some of the engineering which is in them is quite fascinating to see that they built this thousands of years ago, and how amazing it is. We think of these kind of architectures, when we look at these kind of monuments, we think Angkor Wat, we think different parts of the world, but Sri Lanka definitely has that history, that rich history as well. And as you know, religion-wise, Buddhism also dominates the country. So you'll see a lot of Buddhist influence with monks when you're doing sightseeing, or will be just practicing while you're there. Sri Lankan cuisine, of course, there is the curry, which is famous, the hoppers, the string hoppers, which are very famous in Sri Lanka, but we can almost cater to any dietary requests if we know them from advance. This is a common question people ask, will we be able to eat the food? Sri Lankan food and Indian food, all those foods are in North America, I feel, are much more spicier. They're supposed to be tastier, and you're supposed to enjoy the meals while you're there. Yes, if you want more spicier, it can be spicier, but if this is something that does not sit with your system, that's not a problem at all. We just need to know a little bit in advance, and everything can be catered accordingly. But it really is amazing food when you're there, because it's very farm to table once you're there, eating local dishes and curries while you're there. We talked about the art and architecture. If you've ever heard of a name called Jeffrey Bawa, every architect in the world once at some point in their lives studied Jeffrey Bawa's architecture, which is minimalist, and it's a lot of the hotels in Sri Lanka follow this Jeffrey Bauer's design. In fact, the first hotel that I'll show you in a minute is a Jeffrey Bauer design as well, which influences the influence from there has gone almost around the world of different architectures. When hotel chains like the Aman and all that, they follow this minimalist design. This is where it all sort of started. There are 8 sites across the island, which are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the Sigiriya Rock Fortress, Sacred City of Kandy, Old Town of Gaul, all of these that we will be going to, the Central Highlands and the Polnaruwa. These are which we will actually be visiting on our trip. So the trip is not just about wildlife. The trip is a mix of architecture, the mix of religion, a mix of culture, a mix of history, and a mix of wildlife as well. While we're there, while we pass through the countries. February to March is when the trip is scheduled, which is one of the ideal months to actually be there. It's one of the driest times to be there, as Sri Lanka, as you know, there are rainforests. It is an island, but it is one of the driest times to be there in South and the Cultural Triangle where we will be. The landscapes are green and alive, ideal for safaris, hiking, and to spend some time on the beach if you like to do that. This is a general sense of the itinerary where we are going. So as you can see, we are almost visiting throughout the country. The only thing that's missing in this particular map is Galoya, which is another place that we are visiting. But Negombo is the airport, is where we land. So when we land, although the capital is Colombo, the airport is in a city called Negombo, and that's where we will be landing. And from there, our journey starts. We'll first be landing and spending a night at an airport hotel. Now, if you call this an airport hotel, it's a very beautiful airport hotel, which is a Jeffrey Bawa design, very open architecture, right by the beach, when you're there. So if you come for an extra night or two, it's not a bad idea to come and spend it right here while you're there. So you get over your jet lag before you start your 2-week trip. And then we head north into Wilpattu National Park. Wilpattu and that area completely up north is much less visited by tourists, these national parks in the north. When we hear about Sri Lanka, and if you Google Sri Lanka and wildlife, the first thing that'll come up is Yala. Yala is the more famous national park just because it's by the beach, it's where everybody goes, and hence there are more crowds there. We are going and we're trying to focus on national parks beyond Yala. We will of course go to Yala as well, but Wilpattu, which will have much less tourists, and hopefully when we do see our leopards, we will be by ourselves. That's the idea. That would be the ideal world. But of course, there will be other tourists as well, but it's nothing compared to what you see in southern Sri Lanka. It's one of the oldest national parks in Sri Lanka, known for his leopards, which are very famous. And leopards in Sri Lanka dominate. So when a leopard walks, when you see a leopard in Sri Lanka, and this is the difference I make when I compare Africa and Sri Lanka and India and those parts. When a leopard in Sri Lanka walks, it walks like a tiger, it walks like a lion, because it knows it's the predator in that area. It knows nothing is hunting it, at that point. So you get leopard walking on the road sometimes for kilometers, and you're following the leopard, or the leopard is behind your vehicle. It is not scared of running away and jumping on a tree because a lion is coming from the back, and that is excellent for photography. And since it's less crowded, hopefully we will get many moments like that when we are in Wilpattu National Park. Uh, Again, we talked about the bird life, which is very diverse, the Sri Lankan jungle fowl, the brown crab babbler. So if you are a birder, I think it will be one of the most you must come to Sri Lanka at some point in your life. Just because if you want to take some of those iconic species, at least those 29 endemics that are in the country only, this is the place you will get them. And definitely this trip will cover a lot of those endemics, which will be great. You may have seen bears everywhere else in the world. One of the best places to see sloth bears again is Sri Lanka. India, Sri Lanka, these are the two different countries where you see sloth bear very oftenly. And of course, the Sri Lankan elephant. The accommodations that we'll be staying in will be very different everywhere almost. In when we are in Wilpattu, we'll be staying in a tented camp, as that is the one of the only camps in the area which can accommodate a group our size, but very comfortable, as you can see from the images. And the proximity to the park is everything. So once we are there, we are close to the entrance of the park, which is very essential on our trip. Next, we head to Sigiriya, which is a little bit up north. And then Sigiriya is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is about 200 meters above from the jungle canopy. We will be climbing Sigiriya, and it is not necessary that you do. So we will find an alternative if this is something that you do not want to climb. It is a little bit of a tougher hike, I would say, but it's an incredible scenery from top. So think Machu Picchu. Of course, Machu Picchu has its own beauty, but this is Sri Lanka's Machu Picchu in a way when you're getting there. It is a famous uh, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a fort which was created, as the eighth wonder of the world. It's called. It's one of the Asia's oldest landscape gardens, which is up there. And from there, once we base ourselves in the hotel in Sigiriya, we'll be visiting other cultural sites. Polnarua is one of them. A lot of Buddhist influence, as we talked about, lots of palaces, temples, statues, which are present almost throughout the country. Polnarua is one of the more famous ones that we'll be visiting. When we'll have our expert on the ground who will be telling us a lot about the history in that particular region. While we are still staying in Sigiriya, we'll also visit Miniera National Park. Miniera National Park, especially in the dry time when we are going, sees over 300 elephants come to this water reservoir, which is an incredible scenery and excellent for photography while we're there. It's and the wetland also supports crocodiles and many bird species, so it's ideal for afternoon safaris and photography. So especially that time at dusk, you get amazing photographs when you're in Miniera National Park. Uh, we Lots of migratory birds that also come in and out of Minera National Park. And in the evenings, we'll also have an opportunity to actually do a night walk. Up till now, what we were doing was daytime safaris in Wilpattu National Park. When we are there, we'll do one full day of safari, be in the park all day. Now, how the way the safaris work is you take a packed breakfast when you go in the morning, you come back out, you have lunch in the camp, and you go back out in the afternoon and come back in the evening. We will also try to do a full day safari if people want to do that, and where the lunch will be inside the park as well. When we do the night safaris, it'll give us an opportunity to actually stretch our legs. It's not like we are doing this for hours in the evening. We would encourage everybody to have an early dinner and head out for an hour or two on this night safari to the Arbitum, which is the dry zone, which is where slender loris are seen. And slender loris is you will see a couple of them while you're there. We did on the last trip as well. The Indian pangolin, which is very rarely seen again. Okay, you can see in this particular area some various bat species, fireflies, and of course the leeches, ants, and spiders. Let's not leave them behind. They'll also be around when we're there. Water Garden, which is an incredible hotel, beautiful hotel, as you can see from the picture. We can see the Sigiriya Rock Fortress, which I showed you here, just from our hotel as well. So you'll have an excellent view of that. And again, a beautiful hotel there. And then we're going to head completely east of the country to Galoya National Park. Now, I told you Wilpattu National Park was a little less visited. Well, Galoya is really less visited just because you can see where it is far away from the big cities. And Galoya is a beautiful national park. It's home to one of the only boat safari experiences in the country on the reservoir. And if we are lucky, and I'm really hoping we will be on that particular trip while we are there, we will see elephants swimming across the reservoir, which is a beautiful sight to photograph. Of course, other than that, it's rich in biodiversity like leopards, deer, sloth bears, and other bird life. We'll also get an opportunity to interact with the Veda tribe, which lives there. This is a tribal community that lives in the area. I would say that we would have more opportunity of leopards in Wilpattu and Yala, and we will have opportunities of excellent wild elephants crossing the river in this area. But just the park itself is so beautiful that I think we should take the opportunity to just absorb that as well. Other rarer species, and hopefully we will get a chance to see the fishing cat, the jungle cat, the rusty spotted, which is an incredible cat. I've seen many in my life, which is active at night, is actually around a beautiful property that we'll be staying in. The Sri Lankan Frogmouth, if you are a ticker, I think you will love that. The night jars, of course. And the mugger crocodile, let's not forget that. So that's the one of the only other big predators in the area, the mugger crocodile. Gull Oya Lodge is a beautiful property set in 20 acres of land. You can just see by that swimming pool what amazing views that you have around the national park. This is the only property in the area. So whoever is staying here, that's pretty much the only people that you see in the park. There are a few smaller ones that are there, but the park itself is not crowded at all. And that's what I love about going to Galoya, the biodiversity, the relaxation. Because when you're in Wilpattu and Yala, there is a little bit of a pressure to see leopards, to see predators. And I want to slow down. I want all your vehicles to have naturalists that will be guiding you and to go with your wishes, what you want to see. We want to appreciate everything while we are there, on our safaris. And we'll be also engaging with cultural highlights while we're here. So like interacting with the Veda community. And if you are into night walks and cycling and things like that, the lodge itself also offers some opportunities like that. And then we head south to Yala National Park. I talked about this national park because it gets a little crowded in there just because it's right next to why people come to Sri Lanka in majority numbers is to go to beach tourism. Now, Yala is not very far from the beaches, and hence it's a very beautiful national park. And, it's actually stunning. Or it has, and it's been divided into many zones, many areas. It's got scrub jungle, it's got lagoons, it's got a coastline, and it's home to you're definitely going to see elephants, sloth bears, mugger crocodile, and of course leopards. Quite commonly, almost every safari, I'm hoping we will be seeing leopards while we're there. It's got a well-maintained safari network, and we'll be doing morning and afternoon safaris while we're here. It's the highest density of leopards in the world. Now, that's an interesting fact. You've seen leopards everywhere else in the world. You've seen them in Africa. Maybe you've been to India or you've been to other parts in the world. But this is the highest density of leopards anywhere in the world is right here. So I won't be surprised if you do a safari in Najala National Park and come out with 5 or 6 leopards just in one safari. Which is amazing. Other than that, the spotted deer, the wild boar, the tufted gray langur, and many other mammals that we'll be able to see. Sloth bear again is also excellent here, but I would say that if we see them in Wilpattu and we are by ourselves, that is a very special feeling with the sloth bears while we're there. While we are in Yala, we'll also one morning visit Bundala National Park. And Bundala would be famous because it gets a lot of seasonal visitors. So when we talk about migratory birds, which is good to see that we will cover a lot of those birds as well in these areas. And I know I'm sounding like this trip is wildlife only. Don't get me wrong, when you are in a country like Sri Lanka, everywhere that you go, everywhere that you drive, culture is all around you. And we have made this trip in a way where yes, you're visiting national park, you will also be doing some cultural side, but everywhere culture will be very much a part of your journey. When you go to Africa, you go from lodge to lodge, camp to camp, and it feels very wildlifey. Whereas in Asia, when you do safaris, and especially in Sri Lanka, I think culture will be a big part, interacting with people, going into small villages while you're going to national parks as well. So Bundela, as I talked about, is a migratory bird's heaven while we will be there. We're staying at Jetwing Yala, again, a beautiful property. So for accommodations, we are staying in some beautiful properties, beautiful hotels. This is actually not too far away from the beach. The way the picture has been taken, the national park is right behind it. So we are not very far from the entrance of the national parks where we're there. And then the trip comes down to Gaul. Now we are going to do our last drive right by the ocean and get into near to Gaul. Now Gaul is a 16th century UNESCO World Heritage Site. I was recently just there a few months ago as well. It's I love being in Gaul just because the vibrancy of the city. It's evolving all the time. It was built by the Portuguese and then expanded by the Dutch. So there's a lot of influence in Sri Lanka from different colonial rules that has ruled over Sri Lanka. They've come there for trading for various purposes, and this whole area of Galle Fort has now been changed into a cobblestone streets, churches, museums, cafes, and feel free to take your time to not just sort of hear our guide, but walk into a coffee shop, interact with a local person while you're there. Take some time out to be able to do that. Our guide is amazing actually in Gaul. He lives in Gaul. He's a native of that whole area and really tells the story really well. So it's a beautiful spot for walking tours, from some shopping in the end. Great restaurants are popping up, ice cream shops. So and interact with the people while you're there. And it's completely safe to walk on yourself. People ask me this question all the time. Amit, is it safe to walk in those areas? I say absolutely. Take your time. Take Sri Lanka slowly, and it's almost safe to go almost everywhere while you're there. While we're there, we'll also be going for our whale watching tours that we talked about. We will be leaving super early in the morning. The right time when you see the peak season for whales is from November to April. So when we are there is ideal time to go there. We leave early in the morning and we'll be doing one of the boat rides to go see whales. The small boat will be ours, so we're not sharing with anybody else. It'll just be for our group, so it's a private boat. and it's located on the sort of southern coast in a place called Marissa, which is famous for this, which is combination of you'll hopefully see sperm whales, you'll see dolphins, but again, wildlife cannot be guaranteed, and we are really hoping that we will get to see them. So suddenly now we have added one more thing to the mix. I was talking about leopards, I was talking about sloth bears, mugger crocodiles, spotted deer, wild elephants, of course, and now we have blue whales, we have sperm whales. So the diversity in the country, and then beyond that, we're also covering architecture. We are covering some history. Deep dive into Polnarua while we're there. Sigiriya Rock Fortress. You walk as much as you want. You walk as less as you want. The strip is not restricted in a way where you have to go from one point to the other. This is a completely optional. We can break up the group into two if needed, of more walkers versus less walkers. Food can be accommodated for something that what fits your taste, but definitely try Sri Lankan food while you're there. The fortress is the last place that we are staying while we are in Gaul. So as you can see, it's right on the beach. So if you plan on extending your journey and spending a couple of more nights, absolutely do. Just because the view is amazing. The Gaul fort is not far away, and go enjoy one of the local restaurants while you're there. Within Gaul fort. So Dutch colonial architecture, a lot of it is Jeffrey Bava style design, while we are there. So Sri Lanka being such a small country, we will be, doing, these are the safari jeeps that will be going in, which will have ample drinking water. Each jeep is going to have a naturalist. We're going to make sure that you all get a window seat, so nobody's squished in the middle. Everybody has space and can see and take good photographs while you're there. We will be in a small bus when we are going through the country, so your guide can interact with everybody while you're there in different areas. And everything that I feel, makes or breaks a trip is a good naturalist, a good leader, and a leading is very important. So Christian Fernando is going to be your guide who's going to be guiding. He's just finished guiding some amazing groups for us. He's been working with us for a long time. He comes from actually a science background, which is great. So if you actually do have some specific wildlife questions, you will be able to get it answered from him while you're there. And he's a great birder, to tell you a little bit about him. But I can't give everything away because I want you to come on the trip and actually meet him in person. So he can tell you a lot more about Sri Lanka. The weather mostly sunny with moderate humidity levels. So, mostly t-shirt weather that's going to be there. You can see the daytime temperatures will be a little bit warmer for you guys, between 87 to 90, but the nights are very pleasant between 73 to 75. That's the ideal weather in Sri Lanka. Actually, it doesn't get too cold, it doesn't get too hot. It gets humid, but this time of the year is ideal. Limited rainfall days. Yes, it can rain, but last year, like for example, there were 6 rainy days in February this year, and 9 rainy days in March. So yes, we can have that on and off rain, once here, once there. So this is the dry season. This is what we call the dry season, where sunshine and warm seas all the time. So definitely go swimming in the ocean if you get an opportunity at the end there. Should I hand it over to you, Adam?
No, we'll just open the floor. If anybody has any questions, please drop them in the chat. Krista, I think you might have one for a minute. Go ahead. Are you
Yeah,
unmuted?
and I know everybody, great to meet you all. Thank you for being here tonight. I mean, that was an amazing presentation and gave such a great overview of what I think is a spectacular itinerary that we've developed. And we've covered a lot of habitats in that itinerary, and that makes it a little different from some of the average safaris. Like you might go in Africa, you may be only in one or two habitats, and we're covering several. How do you think that people walk away from having gone through so many habitats, what their impression is of Sri Lanka after that?
Absolutely. Just in such a short period, which we don't see anywhere in the world. Like for example, when you go to Africa, you're seeing a similar habitat, you're seeing the plains, and for hours and hours you can drive and it's a similar scenery. Here within a 1 or 2 hour space, you can actually really completely change the scene from going from Houghton Plains to Yala right on the beach to a rainforest. And people like, wow, we didn't know this existed, sort of a thing. That kind of attitude comes with people. It's just like, oh, I couldn't believe this is how diverse the place was. And and the weather patterns can change. They all have their little temperatures. Go from east to west is a completely different time of the year that you should travel to. So we don't even hit Trincomalee and those particular areas where I would say come in June, July, because and there's so much we don't cover, in
Mhm.
time. But of course, we hit all the main highlights, and I think people are in awe of just the diversity that it comes to within that in such a small time, in such a small country, I've seen so much, and it's so different from north, south, east, west is incredible.
Well,
Yeah, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead,
I was just
Pat.
saying we kind of have a combo one. When in the beach locations, is there opportunity for snorkeling? And is it suggested that if people do have snorkel gear that they bring?
Hasita, can I give that question to you?
Yeah, in the resort they're staying at, snorkeling is possible, and they have equipment at the lobby. They can just contact the hotel desk. That's what we usually do, and get snorkeling gear and get on with it. And there's a lot of corals. There's a lot of marine life, various type of fish, and if they're lucky, they can also like swim with a turtle. There's turtles. They come to the show during this
Mm.
time of the year. It's very famous in Sri Lanka as well.
The next one is, the size of the group is 12. You can talk a little bit more about just the size of the group, and then will there be a 2027 trip?
And so part of the size is to think about, as Amit had mentioned, the number of people, the number of Jeeps we have, and having really good space in that, so everyone has a window seat in their Jeep. And we are going to be doing a trip in 27. So we're just working on finalizing those dates and getting them out, but they'll be pretty much the same dates in the time of the month and the dates in the month that we have set up for 2026. So we're also just starting to fill the trip up. And when we were organizing this talk, that we still had several spaces. Now we're down to just a few single spaces, and with sharing for a male and then a female who could be a single at this point. But we could also put you on the wait list because there could always be a cancellation potentially. Otherwise, we would put you on the first to know as soon as we get the 2027 itinerary posted.
Great.
Grace asked, is August a good time to go? But we're going in February.
Sorry, did you want me to answer that or?
Yeah,
Sure.
what do you think about, I mean, I know that we have picked what we think is the best time of the year, but what about August?
No, definitely. I mean, I think the better time of the year would be February and March for what we are doing. See, particularly just looking at small things like when we are going to see the whales, the time period to see them is November to, early April, almost they are starting to go away at that time. Migratory birds, where we're going, is again that time of the year to go to. Hasita, you want to add something?
And also it's the from June onwards the monsoon starts in the southern coast, so we'll be expecting heavy rain in the south coast area where we're staying for in the Fortress Hotel, and also in Vilpattu we can expect some rains as well. But for a traveler who's traveling in July, August, they East Coast is the best place to be because that the weather switch and then it turns around. Very beautiful beaches in the East Coast, but we are not going there on this trip. I would say March is the best time to go still.
And especially if you're into snorkeling and if you're looking for a snorkeling particular trip, then going to places like Trincomalee, which is completely in the east of the country, that is actually a good time to go there for that particular reason, which is a very different reason than what we are doing, overall diversity of Sri Lanka. That's what we're trying to see.
Yeah.
I think that might be it. If anybody has any more questions, drop them in the chat now. I'd hate to cut it off before anybody got their questions out.
And I would like to say, while we wait to see if there's any question, I mean, thank you, Amit, and thank you, Hasitha, and everybody. Krishan couldn't be with us because he's out in the field. It's also 4 a.m. in the morning.
In the morning.
Lanka. And Hasitha, thank you for joining us at such an early morning time for you.
Sure.
One last question.
Oh,
Is this this is recorded, I see up above.
it is.
We
Yeah,
have
I was
some.
actually going to cover that. So when we're
Okay,
done
good.
here next week, hopefully Monday, I'll have it uploaded to YouTube, and then I'm going to email everybody in this webinar so that you guys understand it's on YouTube. So if you want to go back and watch it, or if
Perfect.
someone that you know missed it, you
Okay.
can share it with.
Great. We have
Mhm.
other friends interested.
Great, great. And then there was a question about if we were to extend the trip, where is the best place to snorkel? We can get that and make that available to everybody as well. But it may depend on, how long you want to extend for and whether, where in the country you'd be going after. But I don't know, Hasitha, would you have a recommendation in February?
In February, I think we already have an extension to the tea country, which is not
We do.
something that's
Yeah,
covered
but-
in the trip.
Yeah,
But if
that
somebody wanted to snorkel, Hasitha, where would they go?
Sorry, I missed
February,
that.
March. Yeah.
Yeah, if they want to snorkel, so there's few areas in the south coast, and there's a few very nice hotels. So the areas are called Talpe, Unamatuna, Hitkadua, and Merissa, I would say, where there are diving, snorkeling. There's a lot of water-based activities in those areas. So if they want to extend, we can definitely help them out with booking hotels and all that.
Basically, we're talking about an hour away from where you're staying in your last hotel. So it's not like
Exactly.
very, very far away. But I would if it's a snorkeling-based trip, I would even look at particular hotels in the area where they focus on snorkeling. And in fact, it's Sri Lanka is a surfing paradise for surfers. So they're anyways coming in massive numbers, from Europe to come and do surfing in Sri Lanka. And hence, snorkeling and diving is also, the equipment is already all provided. So you don't have to haul it all the way across the continents. So we can talk about that on a private trip, right after your main trip. That's not a problem. And Krista can help us connect. We can forward something.
And then sorry, go ahead, Adam. You're going to say it.
Same thing. How many days are planned for the national park where the elephants swim?
Galoya? Galoya is 3 nights. 3 nights, yes.
3. And with a boat safari specifically on one of the days.
Correct.
Thanks, Christine. We'll get you on the list for 2027.
Anybody has any last minute questions, you can unmute or drop it in the chat before we say goodbye. In that event, thank you guys for joining us. Honestly, we really hope you were inspired by the incredible beauty and diversity of Sri Lanka. If you want to learn more about our trip, excuse me, if you want to learn more about our trip, check out the link in the chat. You can go directly to the itinerary. Again, I will also be uploading all of this to YouTube so that everybody can go back and revisit the talk, or if you have somebody that missed tonight, you can share it with them. So from all of us here at Cheesemans Ecology Safaris, Amit, Sita, Krista, and myself, we want to thank everyone, and we hope to see all of you guys in Sri Lanka.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.